Nobody expected the Drake downfall to begin with a fantasy number like $2 billion, but that's exactly where this whole mess started. With a lawsuit so delusional, even Joe Budden had to laugh because Drake didn't just walk into court asking for damages. He walked in asking for a payout so massive it would have required UMG to treat him like Apple, Disney, and a small country combined. And the wildest part, his fans genuinely believed it. That's the danger of hype without grounding. Big egos collapse fast. If there's a takeaway here, it's simple. When your expectations outgrow reality, reality comes back swinging harder than any diss track. Picture this: a federal judge reading through a stack of filings where Drake is essentially arguing, "Your Honor, Kendrick hurt my feelings," and Twitter agreed. This was the moment the internet realized the courtroom was not the arena Drake thought it was. The judge didn't see a wounded superstar. She saw a grown man trying to weaponize hurt pride over a diss record he indirectly asked for. That's why she tossed the case with zero hesitation. She saw through the theatrics instantly. Courts don't reward embarrassment. And here's the lesson: when you drag your ego into a room built for evidence, the room wins every time. What if Drake's downfall didn't start with Kendrick, but with the moment Joe Budden told him almost a decade ago that the invincible superstar act would eventually implode? Back then, people laughed Joe off. Today, his warnings read like prophecy. He said Drake surrounded himself with yes men, chased easy hits, and ran from accountability. And here we are, the lawsuit loss, the public spiral, the label tension. Joe didn't predict the future. He recognized the pattern. Patterns never lie. When someone who's lived through the mistakes tries to warn you, listen before the crash becomes the headline. Here's a hard truth: reputation isn't built by money, but it can definitely be destroyed by it. Drake spent more cash on PR, legal teams, and courtroom fantasies than some artists spend promoting an entire album cycle, yet none of it restored the one thing he actually lost: credibility. Not stream counts, not chart positions, credibility. And that's the one currency Joe Budden kept saying Drake couldn't afford to play games with. This is why the lawsuit hurt more than the diss track. Credibility disappears quietly. If there's a lesson, it's this: once the crowd stops believing you, no budget can buy them back. UMG released one of those statements that looks supportive on paper, but reads like a corporate slap once you slow it down. Two facts hit at once. They said the lawsuit was an affront to artistic expression, and then immediately reminded the world they still look forward to working with Drake. Translation: we're glad you lost, and yes, we still own your catalog. And Joe Budden caught the shade immediately, because that's label language for "don't try this again." Corporate praise is coded. The takeaway is simple: when a label emphasizes partnership while calling you a problem, they're preparing consequences. I knew Drake's lawsuit era was getting messy when my feed filled with OVA Joes defending the case like they were on payroll. I'm talking full mental gymnastics, comparing a rap lyric to corporate defamation, insisting Drake was about to change music forever, and swearing this would bring him billions. Joe Budden didn't even have to roast them. They roasted themselves. The delusion got so deep that fans genuinely believed a diss song could bankrupt UMG. That level of coping is historic. Delusion spreads fast. When your fan base loses touch with reality, your brand loses stability right behind them. Imagine being down so bad that your fan base starts inventing fictional concerts to cope with reality. That's exactly where Drake's supporters ended up, designing fantasy arenas, imaginary ticket sales, and even fake stage designs where Drake symbolically breaks the music industry. Joe Budden couldn't have scripted a better meltdown while Kendrick fans were celebrating a real legal victory. OVO diehards were busy writing Harry Potter fan fiction with Drake in the lead role. Reality wasn't enough. When supporters start creating alternate universes to defend you, the real world has already turned against you. What's the exact moment you think Drake's downfall started? The diss battle, the lawsuit, or the ego? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. Let's dive deeper into this. The funniest twist came from DJ Academics, a man who tried to defend Drake and accidentally blew the entire argument apart. He said diss records always contain extreme insults, then claimed Drake should have sued Kendrick personally. Joe Budden instantly clocked the contradiction. If battle lyrics are normal, why suggest any lawsuit at all? The hypocrisy was loud, and the more AK tried to rationalize it, the more he confirmed Drake had no case from the start. Contradictions reveal truth. If the people defending you can't keep their logic straight, the defense is already dead. If Drake truly believed rap lyrics could be treated like courtroom evidence, then here's the question Joe Budden threw back at him. What happens when the same standard applies to your own music? Because if Drake could sue Kendrick for Not Like Us, then Kendrick or Whitney could have sued Drake for Family Matters. The allegations in that record were far wilder. This is the exact Pandora's box the judge refused to open. And Joe knew why. Drake was never ready for the mirror to turn around. The mirror cuts deeper. Don't create rules you can't survive. They come back fast. Just when everyone thought Drake would quietly accept the loss, he surprised the world with the most self-destructive twist yet. He appealed the ruling. Joe Budden called it instantly. Appealing doesn't erase the L, it multiplies it. Because now every new headline, every court date, every legal analysis just resurrects the humiliation he was trying to bury. Instead of moving on, Drake extended the life cycle of the defeat, giving Kendrick's victory a sequel it didn't even need. Some losses grow with time. When your pride outruns your strategy, you lose twice. First publicly, then permanently. Sometimes the strongest move in a losing moment is simply accepting it, and Joe Budden said this from day one. If Drake had taken the L, stepped back, regrouped, and delivered strong music, the narrative would have shifted. Hip-hop respects fighters, but it also respects humility. Instead, Drake doubled down, sued everyone in sight, and made the loss louder than the battle itself. He didn't just lose, he insisted on replaying it. Grace is strategic. When you choose pride over patience, you turn a temporary stumble into a permanent stain. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Joe Budden voiced first. The Iceman era was brilliant branding wrapped around music that simply didn't hit. Drake built an entire persona, aesthetic, and mythos, but the songs didn't match the scale of the rollout. When your entire empire relies on spectacle, mediocre output becomes unforgiving. Fans noticed, the industry noticed, even the charts noticed, and the gap between image and execution became too wide to ignore. Hype collapses without substance. Reinvention only works when the art evolves with the persona. Otherwise, the persona becomes parody. Joe Budden summed up the entire UMG situation with one brutal line: labels see windows, not feelings. And that's exactly why Drake's lawsuit was a disaster. To a corporation, emotions don't matter, return on investment does. Joe broke down the numbers plainly. UMG already makes more money from Drake's old catalog than his new music brings in. So why would they risk millions promoting projects that don't hit? From a business standpoint, Drake's lawsuit didn't just fail, it confirmed he's become a liability. Math cuts through ego. If your output isn't outperforming your legacy, labels pivot fast. Imagine this: Drake turns in his next album expecting the full red button rollout. Playlists, radio, TikTok, global push. But instead, nothing. The label goes quiet. No priority meetings, no marketing budget, no playlist favors, just silence. That scenario is exactly what Joe Budden warned about, because labels don't punish with words, they punish with budgets. And when a superstar sues their own machine, the machine doesn't yell back. It simply stops moving. Silence is lethal. In the music industry, the harshest punishment is indifference, and Drake may be entering that phase. Two things happened at once that Joe Budden predicted years ago. Drake lost the lyrical battle and lost the business leverage that once protected him. The judge dismissed his lawsuit, and the industry quietly adjusted, because once a superstar shows vulnerability, labels calculate risk differently. Drake didn't just take an L, he exposed himself as someone who can't control a narrative anymore. That's why this fallout feels bigger than the music. The power imbalance shifted. Power leaks quietly. When credibility drops and revenue slows, the industry stops bending and starts watching. What did Drake think was going to happen when he dragged this feud into court that, not like us, would shrink? Joe Budden said the opposite. Every time Drake revived the beef, the song's legend grew. And that's exactly what happened. The lawsuit gave Kendrick's diss a second life, new headlines, fresh streams, and another wave of memes. Drake didn't bury the record. He immortalized it. You can't outmaneuver a cultural moment by prolonging it. Spotlight extends impact. When you keep reopening the wound, the world keeps replaying the punch. I remember watching Joe Budden react the night the lawsuit got dismissed, and he didn't even look surprised. He looked validated because Joe said the part Drake refuses to hear. This whole downfall happened because Drake stopped understanding the room he was performing in. Hip hop wasn't waiting for perfection. It was waiting for accountability. Instead, Drake fled the country, dissed random celebrities, blamed the industry, and tried to litigate away embarrassment. None of it landed. None of it felt grounded. Momentum requires awareness. When you lose touch with the culture you're trying to lead, the culture moves without you. Here's the wildest twist. Joe Budden already laid out the blueprint for Drake's survival years ago. He told him to evolve, experiment, and stop depending on shock value and streaming tactics. He told him the invincible superstar act would age badly, and he warned that if Drake ever slipped, the industry wouldn't show mercy. Drake didn't listen. He mocked Joe, belittled him, tried to clown him publicly, and then fell into the exact trap Joe described. The full circle moment is brutal. Prophecy hits hard. When you ignore the one critic who actually understands your patterns, you end up reliving them. In the end, Drake didn't just lose a lawsuit. He lost the illusion that he could control every narrative forever. Joe Budden tried to warn him. Once the armor cracks, the industry stops treating you like a myth and starts treating you like a man. And that's exactly what happened. Drake fought the judge, fought the culture, fought the critics, but never fought the real issue, the ego that pushed him into a battle he couldn't win. Every empire ends two ways, with a bang or with a lesson. And right now, Drake is still choosing the bang.